But and they wanted theirs. Well, they had the one team, and his father told him. He said, well, if they took their horses, he couldn't put his crop in the spring. So he said, well, we don't need to keep the horses. He said, if you would come with us, I think it was as far as Uniontown, we can get supplies there, and you can get back. So my grandfather was sent at age 12. He went with the army down that far, and when they got their other horses, they gave him his team back, and he came home alone back to Reading, Pennsylvania.
I hope all the Confederates were someplace else.
I think they were. I think they were at that time.
Yeah, that would have been in the early part of the war then, because
I think so. I can't. I don't remember just.
it would have to have been probably before Gettysburg, very likely.
Well, let's hope it was after.
Or after.
Yes. When the Union was in command. It could have been.
Yeah, my geography.
Maybe that's why they were short on horses.
I just say my geography of Pennsylvania is not very recent,
Yeah.
so I'm not sure. Well, let's switch back to the other side of your family. That's the McPhee side. Let's look a little bit at what happened with the Murphys and the Hawks, which would be Sarah Ann Hawk and William Murphy. Now, William Murphy, you've told us before, emigrated from Ireland when he was about 17.
Yes.
And then worked for Sarah Ann's father down, what is it, near Carlinville? Or Jacksonville?
Jacksonville.
Jacksonville. And your father is buried at Winchester, which
Yes.
is close to Jacksonville.
Yeah.
But he came down there to find work, and then worked for Sarah Ann's father for a short time, did he not?
Yes.
And then he got his citizenship by joining the Union
Yes.
Army.
And I don't remember what I might have said on another tape. I used to think he came from County Cork. He didn't. He was born in Limerick,
Limerick.
Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
That's when my mind wandered there for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it told.
Mm-hmm. Then after he was released from service, then he came back, and he and Sarah Ann were married
About 2 years later,
2 years later.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they had to, I don't know, accumulate some money and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had this double wedding,
Mm-hmm.
she and her sister.
Now her sister's name was Mary California.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
And she and her sister went to a girls' school, more or less.
No.
No, that's not right.
It's Sarah Ann's daughters that went to the girls' school, boarding
So
school.
that would be your Aunt Kate
Yeah.
went to a boarding school.
Yes. And her sister was also Mary California, named after the aunt.
Mm-hmm. So there was, Sarah Ann had a sister named Mary California, and then she named one of her children Mary California.
Yes. Yeah.
Was it
But
the ordinary?
her daughter was called Callie.
Yeah, okay. Was it unusual to name a child after a state like California?
Oh yes, very.
I mean, it was quite usual to do that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, it isn't done today, particularly. And
No, but my grandmother Sally Ann, that we were just Sally Ann, just talking about, she had a sister Emma Texas.
I guess I hadn't heard about Emma, Texas.
Oh yeah, Emma Texas was Derwood's mother.
I see.
No, his grandmother.
Well, then Sarah Ann and William Murphy went to live in Missouri, near Kansas City, right?
Yes, they settled at Belton, and Mary California married a man named Easton, who was an attorney at the time, and he became a judge.
In
Easton.
that area.
Sedalia, Missouri.
In Sedalia. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the two families kept in touch. The cousins knew each other.
So there were 4 boys in that family, and then 2 daughters.
The 2 daughters were the older.
I see.
2 daughters and then 4 sons. My father was the second son.
And so then those boys, though, were able to go to high school by going into Kansas City to high school?
No, into Lawrence.
Oh, to Lawrence. Oh, I see.
Yes, that would have been about 40, 50 miles away. And Grandpa bought a little house in Lawrence, and the mother would go with the boys and stay until school was out. Then they came back and worked on the farm.
What kind of an education did they have? What kinds of things did they study? Was it like college preparatory?
Oh yes, my father had calculus, and they studied the literature. I've heard him talking about Pilgrim's Progress and Dante's Inferno or whatever. And
Did he expect to go on to college, or did they?
no, he went to afterwards. He went to business college.
What would be a business college? How could you explain?
Office work and bookkeeping and such things.
And that's the kind of thing he did then when he worked for the railroad.
No.
No?
At the time my folks were married, he was just a switchman. And Uncle Sherm worked for the railroad. He was a switchman. But my father became yardmaster finally. And but he worked in the office and handled a lot of men under him.